Hello everyone, this is Waldorf.
And this is Statler.
And today we're going to go over the Beta 2.05, oh sorry, 0.205.
0.205.0.
Whatever, yes. Fantasy Rulebook, the changes to the rulebook.
Right, and we're not going to go through every single thing, just the
Correct.
main things.
Yeah, just the main things that we've seen, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I do want to point out, and I kind of went over this, to kind of hid this from you previously, my favorite change in this whole rulebook that's going to force me to buy a new army is there is apparently an army coming out. Well, I can't get my slide to change. There will be a winged monkey chariot.
Yes.
Somebody's getting a winged monkey chariot. I'm going to have to build the new army unless it happens to come with one of mine. It's a winged monkey chariot. Can you go wrong with that?
As long as it's commanded by the Wicked Witch of the West. It's okay.
Fantastic. Anyway, so when they come out with it, let me know. I'm watching. Anyway, moving on. General notes. I really like the more and better graphics for examples, for diagrams of things they showed, how things work. Diagrams, like we've said many times.
Yeah, we've always said a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Exactly.
You can't have enough, and they've definitely added a lot more, and I think we both like that a lot.
Correct. General language cleanup, where they just, got rid of some of the legalese.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better.
It's still there.
I think
it's just not what it was.
Still move away from some of those complex sentences and go to more bullet points, but they've done that in some places already, but it's definitely better than it was.
The unit boundary and footprint differences are gone.
Yeah,
now it's all unit boundary.
That's one of the things we asked for too.
That's really nice.
To combine to make it simpler.
An index in the back of the book was very nice.
Yeah, just because so much stuff is in interesting places sometimes.
Right.
At least how you're thinking about it when you're in the middle of something. So having an index you can click on or just know what page is really helpful.
Yep. And then at the back of the book, the reference / cheat sheets.
Yeah, I really like.
And
I'm gonna
bring those up real quick. Can I?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I can.
I think you have the ability.
I wasn't sure for a minute.
I think they still need to do a little more work on these to group things a little bit better. But
correct.
Still, having all of the pregame scenario rules and everything in one page, I think is just so helpful for people who don't do normal scenarios all the time.
Unfortunately, I think the one mistake they made, like I think you pointed this out earlier, is
the scoring.
They seem to have gone in order of the book rather than like
how you would really use it most of the time.
Putting the victory scoring on this one would have been
one sheet with victory scoring, one sheet with melee,
right.
All the melee stuff.
Right. But I do love these, and they're all located in the back of the book.
Right.
So you can just open to the back, find these, and go. They even did the flux cards as a chart, which was actually kind of nice for those that don't have the card, don't bring the cards or whatever. So I mean, you can see through these. Everything's here. Like this is the one. Had this been on the top of that first sheet,
then you'd have the perfect scenario-based picture.
But I mean, I may do a modification of that myself.
Yeah, I think if you're doing any tournament regular play, having that kind of sheet's really helpful. Like I said, for the people who don't play the scenarios all the time, they do different things, or maybe they always play the same scenario and they don't roll them all off.
And probabilities in the back is just kind of nice to have for people that don't have these kind of stuck in their heads.
Yeah, no, I think it's helpful. I think it's a double-edged sword to me. I think on one hand, I really like it. Don't get me wrong, but I can see people being paralyzed by not studying this.
Oh, let me go look in the back. And
before they launch their charges or plan the probabilities for every single shooting chart because they think they have this information at their hand now.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Because then you have to do
but that was that. That was kind of general notes with that.
Right.
Moving on, the charge phase. Maximizing combat has changed. The priority 2 and 3 have swapped. Just avoid rotating the charged unit was before maximizing the total number of charging units.
Right.
So they just made that kind of swapped.
Yep.
No real big deal. The green text is generally just cleaned up language.
Yep.
The other change they made to the charge phase is a fleeing unit that hits a unit that has declared a charge against it is destroyed. This here was the old situation in 204. The unit A charges C, it flees out there in front of B. B charges it, it bounces all the way through A. Now it's safe.
And it's safe because B can't get to it because A's in the way, and A can't get to it because it's not facing it.
Well, A can only make one 90-degree turn.
Yep.
You're right. So they can't do that. So now, with the change to that rule, when B declares the charge, it runs forward, hits A, and dies because A has already declared a charge against it. Now, it still doesn't prevent from A charging C. If C flees further enough to get behind B, it gets behind B. It can still get behind B if B hasn't declared the charge already. This only takes place if the unit has already declared a charge against it. So, anyway, I don't know how much this is going to come up, but it's a significant change because I have seen it come up in games.
Well, it does mean you can trap things.
Right.
Which before you had to be careful. You send too many things into something trying to get rid of, and
let it bounce away.
It ended up escaping because you could never track it down.
Just a couple things. Move the decimated paragraphs moved to psychology. New spell for magic phase. New figure. Cover was now a fairly significant change. You look at the target facing, not its footprint, to determine if there is a cover or not. So the odd situation where the guy on the end is in a ruin. The one guy on the end. If you happen to be in the flank of that unit, he's protected.
Right.
Even though the rest of the unit's not. But just odd little issues. This was an interesting change. If a duel issued by the active player is refused, the reactive player now has the opportunity to issue a duel.
Yeah, I think this is a big deal, actually.
Think so?
Yeah.
We'll see how this works. I'm not sure when it would come up, but...
Yeah, to me the obvious one is, we were chatting earlier, but the obvious one is, you issue a duel against me, you got this Uber character, and you say and I say I'm going to refuse, and you say, okay, your BSB's going to the back.
Right.
And you're in base contact, I don't want you pounding on me, so then I turn around and declare a challenge with my champion just so you can't kill my guy.
That's a good point. Yeah. You're right. So now you have to fight that champion rather than...
Right.
And technically, I guess you could have two characters that are just sitting there watching.
Yes. Yeah.
Two refusals. So anyway, so that's kind of done. The other things, just kind of minor things. They didn't do it. They did a flow chart. I didn't copy it in, but they did a flow chart of the steps between the attacks and the casualties, just detailing the roll your arm, roll to hit, roll to wound, roll your armor, roll your fortitude, whatever. Anyway. This cleans up. Terrain. Cliffs have been renamed impassable terrain.
This is one of the things we couldn't stand. Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah.
Water's been renamed water terrain because water is just any water feature, which it always has been. They didn't list this as a change, but it is one of my favorites. Buildings are now impassable.
Yes. So they're going back to the impassable buildings, which means there's really no need for rules for it because it's the same as cliffs.
Correct. Buildings fall under the
impassable terrain
chart. And now they've also given, I copied this here because it's a little bit, I like what they did with the kind of the descriptions, the green text.
Right.
Fields can be represented by this, forest can be represented by this. I just thought it was a nice
they made it more like most miniature games, which you have multiple things that count as that particular terrain. So, it gives you modeling opportunities. And so you can have consistency also.
Yep. The only thing they did kind of change a little bit on the elevated position. Models with the center of their base on a hill are considered to be elevated. So now, it used to be 50% of your model.
Right.
Now it is the center of your model needs to be on the hill to be considered to be elevated. Not a huge change, but it is there.
Right.
And then just a kind of bunch of model rules. I highlighted the ones that I thought were more significant than the others. Going up top, Ghost Step automatically passes dangerous terrain. hard target is now hard target X to let it stack. Random
So I guess
movement.
we'll have to see when the books come out what those look like.
The first one, the Vanguard, can now be X instead of 12.
Yeah.
I kind of like this. Basically, it lets you do a varied Vanguard based on the unit.
Right.
So units that should be faster can be a little bit faster now.
Yeah, my first reading was it was the unit's movement, but yeah. But to your point, it looks like it's going to be a set value.
Right.
Guess we'll see when the books come out in a few days.
Yeah. Some other stuff. Bolt throwers are now... the bolt thrower rule is removed. Now it's an artillery weapon with penetrating. And penetrating's been removed.
Yes.
It's an area attack. This is actually wrong, what they wrote in the notes.
Right.
From what they've posted later.
And this is from the notes at the bottom, at the end of the
change
rules.
log at the end of the rules, which
it's
was
not,
wrong.
It's not the rules itself.
Because the penetrating is going to be area attack 5-1.
Right.
So it's an area attack. Bolt thrower has area attack 5-1.
Which seems counterintuitive, but it's the depth then the width instead
Correct.
of the width then the depth.
Yeah,
But,
I always thought it should be width. Depth. Anyway,
width then depth.
I thought it should be written this way, 1-5.
Yeah, me too.
But magic attacks do not apply to special.
Like I said, this goes to a simplification. So now all of the weapons kind of shoot the same.
Yeah, now they're all area effects.
So you're the area effect, or you're just ballistic shooting like
correct
bows.
Right. So now I guess that's, even things like the ogre crossbow has penetrating, so it's going to be an area effect weapon now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, breath attack clarification when you declare you're using it, not a big deal. Special attack. Oh, magic attacks don't apply to special attacks, which was pretty much the case before, but not
because
quite.
usually it was but I guess there were some things that just said so that people figured it was everything. Yeah.
Now there's I found two changes that were not marked as changes. They're marked as rewrites. The 2.04 rule on the top, if you failed a march test, you had to make a march move, but only up to your advance rate.
Right.
What this meant is you marched, and you can see by the line directly under it, a unit that marched cannot shoot in the following
Right.
Shooting phase, unless, of course, you had the march and shoot or whatever.
Right.
So the change to that, as you can see down on the bottom line on this page, now if the test is failed, the unit cannot perform a march move, and then it can perform any other type of moves as normal, or choose not to move at all.
Right.
So now if you fail your march test, you can just reform and do something.
Yep. Or just stay stationary.
Where
and shoot
you
without
weren't
penalty.
allowed. Now, a lot of people played this wrong previously.
Yeah.
Because you'd say, "Oh, I failed a march. Okay, well, I'll just reform and face you,
Right.
or whatever." You didn't used to be able to do that. Now you can.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a sneaky rule that may make a difference
Oh, I think it makes a difference if you were playing it correctly.
if you were playing it correctly.
Because now there's, frankly, I'll go ahead and try the march. If I fail it, I'll still be able to.
Right, it means
react.
a lot less than it did before.
Yeah. Because
Oh, and
before
by
it's
the
like,
way-
if I fail this, I might have my rear facing towards them and too close. So
Right.
yeah.
And by the way, another thing people do wrong all the time, or I don't know, do it wrong or intentionally do it wrong all the time. When you roll your march test, you have to move your unit. You can't roll this march test, roll this march test, roll this march test, and then go back and move your units.
Yeah.
Roll your march test, move your unit, do your next one.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to know whether the next one's going to pass or not before you do the first,
Well, you finish moving a unit.
Correct.
You don't partially move a unit, then move another unit,
Thank
which
you.
is basically what you're doing.
Yes. Anyway, so there you go. When you fail a march test, now you can do whatever you want. And that's going to do it. Those are the changes we've seen.
Right.
If you...
There's a whole bunch of everything in green. There's tons of editorial changes. We're not going to go through all this in this video.
Correct. If you notice anything we missed, please post it, because I'd definitely be interested in seeing it.
Right.
All right? Thanks for listening.
Till next time.